It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
We hope you had a fantastic weekend. This is ZiFM Sport on a Monday, Manic Monday, here on ZiFM Stereo, my station, your station of choice. And today we got a bumper show for you. Bumper in the sense that on these lockdown editions, we've been mostly covering all the updates to do with Corona. This show has got lots and lots of sport. What can you look forward to on the home front? Zimbabwe's tennis siblings, Benjamin and Courtney Locke, have set their sights towards making a solid return to the professional tennis circuit after recently resuming training in preparation for a possible return of tournaments on the international circuit next month. We'll hear the thoughts of the ZiFM Sport team who are here. Alois Bunjira is here. Mike Madoda is here. Chris Gray is here. Our producer Sean Tafirinika is here. My name is Barry Manandi. But that's not the only thing that you can look forward to, because on international sports news, Super Rugby champions Crusaders returned to action with their trademark efficiency when they put away the Hurricanes 39-25 in Super Rugby Aotearoa yesterday.
And around the world in 60, we take off in California, where Webb Simpson produced a sparkling finish to claim a narrow victory after a weather-delayed final round at the RBC Heritage. In Florida, the NBA is concerned about the growing number of coronavirus cases in Florida, but intends to go ahead with its plan to restart the season in a bubble in the state. And touching down in Monaco, the Adria Tour has been cancelled after Grigor Dimitrov confirmed he had tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday.
Today is Manic Monday, so don't miss out on our play of the day, and then it'll be the second half of the show. The beautiful game will kick off in La Liga, where Zinedine Zidane hit out at constant talk about refereeing decisions after Real Madrid moved top of La Liga with a 2-1 win over Real Sociedad last night. In the Premier League, Jurgen Klopp was quick to praise Alisson Becker after the Brazilian keeper denied Everton the chance of a historic Merseyside derby victory. In Serie A, Antonio Conte has urged Christian Eriksen to be more decisive in attack after helping Internazionale return to winning ways following Serie A's restart. And we'll touch base in the Bundesliga, where Borussia Dortmund striker Erling Haaland has made his feelings about Bayern Munich's title win pretty clear, expressing it's an unpleasant feeling that the Bavarian Giants had become champions once again.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Now you can catch us on all of our social media pipes at ZiFM Sport is the big one on all the popular social media outlets. You can also follow us in our individual capacities at Mike Madoda, at Alois Bunjira, at Chris Midzi, at Sean Tafirenyika, and I'm at Barry Manandi. Right, let's get after it. Starting with tennis, where Zimbabwe's tennis siblings Benjamin and Courtney Locke have set their sights towards making a solid return to the professional tennis circuit after recently resuming training in preparation for a possible return of tournaments on the international circuit next month. Professional tennis has been paralyzed since the 12th of March due to the coronavirus pandemic, with several international tournaments around the world being either postponed or cancelled. The Locke brothers, who have been inactive for the last couple of months after the mass cancellation of tournaments, started training at Harare Sports Club last week. This is a welcome boost for the Locke brothers because tennis has been designated as a low-risk sport, and indeed it is. Hopefully the world will be following suit, just as we've seen sport coming back all over the world, Chris. It'll be good news for Zimbabwe tennis as well, including the Locke brothers.
Definitely, and it's really great that they've managed to get a bit of a head start. We know that they'll be competing in the Davis Cup pretty soon, and it's great that they finally got they've got themselves back onto the court now, and getting all of the different sporting codes started again, I think is really key for Zimbabwean sport, because the sooner we realize what works and what doesn't, the sooner we can engage more sporting codes and get our sports ticking again.
And albeit, Mike, that it looks like sport is coming back, we hear news that last week the Association of Tennis Professionals, the ATP, and the WTA, which is the Women's Tennis Association, they extended their suspension of their tours until at least the end of July. And that increased the list of cancelled tournaments to 40 now since March. So caution is the word. However, you can't sort of wait for there to be a lifting of the ban and then start training. You need to be ready when they lift that ban, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. The beauty of tennis is that it's an individual sport. So in terms of your training regime, I don't think any of the top tennis players have been affected, because most of them have probably got courts at home. They've probably got some sort of training environment at home. So they would have proceeded and carried on with their training. And also I know that they've said that no tennis until the end of July. But what signals the return of the sport is the fact that the US Open has been confirmed at Flushing Meadows. And that shows you where the mindset of the ATP and WTA is in terms of the return to action. This COVID-19 cancellation couldn't have come at a worse time for the Locke brothers, because at the start of the year, they were doing really, really well. You'll remember back in February, they celebrated their biggest win of their professional career after combining, I think this was Benjamin, after he combined with Evan King, the American, to win the men's double at Launceston in Tasmania, Australia. And they would have loved to kick on from that, play more tennis, especially when you're on a winning run. You want to play, you want to carry on playing because you have the momentum, and then flip, COVID came along and they had to stop. So they're going to have to look for more in terms of inspiration to kickstart the engine and to try and get some wins under their belt, because the main thing for the Locke brothers this year, apart from their own personal and individual goals on the ATP tour, is the fact that Zimbabwe will be playing versus China in September.
Yeah, and that's a big one for the Locke brothers. And Alois, you've got to say to yourself that these two being two of our best players, easily, both as in singles and in doubles. Of course, we've got to add Kanye Garanganga into the mix there. These two being our best professional tennis players. A professional never stops, do they? So even though Mike is saying that the COVID-19 break couldn't have come at a worse time, no doubt, even in lockdown, at their houses, at home, they were still training. We even noticed you're well into your retirement, but you haven't stopped training, haven't stopped conditioning yourself. And so a professional sports person should never stop.
Yeah, of course, if you are a professional sports person, you know what you are doing, you know where you're going, you know how dangerous it is to sit back and skip a month or two without training. It can actually derail whatever plans you have of winning things. So obviously they've been training, they have been actually keeping themselves in shape and in fine tune. But the psychological impact of it is always going to be there, because you know that you're just training and you're not playing matches. We have said it that the best form of maintaining match fitness is playing a match. So that is always lacking. Although they might just keep themselves in fine tune, they lack match fitness. So when it comes with the adrenaline, it comes with the excitement, it comes with the ambition. When you start playing, you actually aim, you have got a target. So this is actually welcome boost that is now back, and psychologically it's actually good for the players. Now they are training, having a target, knowing where they're going and what they want to do. So well done to whoever say that we should come back, because I've always advocated for it, that let's just go back to sport. First, coronavirus head on.
Take coronavirus head on, and the word from Alois is train Jinetariro. The Locke brothers are ranked 417, that's Benjamin, and then Courtney is ranked 1,298. He's tied in that position. Yeah, it might seem high. However, there are a lot of tennis players, and so they are working up their rankings. That tie against China coming up in September, as Mike pointed out, will be played on either Friday the 18th to Saturday the 19th of September, or Saturday the 19th of September to Sunday the 20th, and that will be in Harare. No doubt that'll be at Harare Sports Club. Let's start the momentum now so that it doesn't look like a home tie for China.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
All right, let's give you some local sports news, starting with squash, where Squash Rackets Association of Zimbabwe is appealing for sponsorship to renovate dilapidated courts at schools around the country as part of its plans to revive the sport. The association chairperson, Lucky Malilo, said unlike most federations that get assistance from the International Olympic Committee, they have to look for their own funding to sustain the game, since squash is not an Olympic sport. Malilo said that they are keen to have the sport played at schools around the country. Mixed martial arts news. Themba Gorumbo is one of the biggest MMA prospects out of Africa and is reportedly on the verge of being signed by the UFC. But his journey toward the top of the sport has been incredible, to say the least. The man known as The Answer has racked up a 9-2 professional record with 10 fights in South Africa's Extreme Fighting Championship, where he is the promotion's welterweight champion. It's a far cry from his childhood growing up in Zimbabwe, where life was difficult. He was an orphan after his mother died when he was 9 and his father died when he was 13. He's quoted as saying, "My cousin was looking after us, but it was not the life many people wish to have." This was, of course, in an interview with John Yonko of Kumite TV. We wrap it up with news of an administrative nature, where the government has set aside a $20 million bailout fund for football and other sport codes to alleviate the plight caused by the novel coronavirus pandemic that has paralyzed sporting activities across the globe. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Youth, Sport, Arts and Recreation, Thokozile Chitepo, confirmed the development. Since the announcement of the initial lockdown period by President Emerson Mnangagwa in March, sporting events have been in limbo, with 15 low-risk sport codes being allowed to resume, albeit under very strict guidelines, during the president's third lockdown review announcement.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
Time for your international sports news, and we've been zoning in for the last couple of weeks on rugby. It's back in New Zealand. Super Rugby Aotearoa and the champions, the Canterbury Crusaders, returned to action with their trademark efficiency when they put away the Wellington Hurricanes 39-25 yesterday. It was 5 tries to 1 for the visiting Sailors, whose performance was blighted only by a high penalty count. The Crusaders are the dominant side in the Southern Hemisphere Club Championship, winning it for the last 3 seasons, and were again looking the side to beat before Super Rugby was halted by the coronavirus pandemic in mid-March. Let's get the post-match thoughts of Crusaders skipper Cody Taylor.
Got a great bunch of lads behind me. You got someone like Sammy Whitelock, who's led the team in the past, and our leadership group, we knew we had to come up here and go the 480, and these new rules and the competition's bloody tough, and today showed it. It's really fast. Like when you don't have the ball, the breakdown's bloody tough to get some ascendancy back, and we were caught in our own half a lot, giving away penalties, and we watched last week knowing that was the case, but even when you're in the mix of it, it's still tough not to do so. Our discipline was pretty poor in the first half, and we gave away countless penalties and a yellow card, so that's something that we have to look at against New Zealand teams. You can't afford to do that. So I think you can see that there's a lot of lineouts in this competition, so if you don't nail it, it puts you under pressure straight away. So
Z.
The sentiments there of stand-in skipper All Black Cody Taylor, standing in, of course, for Scott Barrett, who's currently injured. And you've got to say, Barry, that you can't help but admire the efficiency of the Crusaders, because time and time again, they're called on to perform. And even when we don't know what the state of sport is, the state of rugby is, they come in and they pick up exactly where they left off before the coronavirus struck.
Well, two things that shone bright, and that is your statement on Friday talking about the amount of All Blacks, 4 All Blacks that are in that Crusaders lineup. And then the second thing coming through is the rate at which they got out of blocks so quickly against the Hurricanes also demonstrated that this is a side that you know exactly where they are. We could stop sport for a year. The one thing that you can be sure of is that when the Crusaders come back, they're going to continue where they left off, and they certainly did against the Hurricanes. And in truth, the scoreline makes it seem like the Hurricanes were hapless. No. The Hurricanes were well in this game, but then they were well beaten by a side that has got various gears to engage.
Absolutely, various gears to engage. And Chris, for the Hurricanes, they'll be concerned. It's now 2 matches since the return of rugby in New Zealand and 2 defeats.
Absolutely, and that's not a place they want to be in. If you take a look at that log, they've got absolutely no points since this restart, and it's really concerning for them. We were hoping that in this particular match they might be able to pick up some points, but obviously that hasn't happened. And I think you can attribute some of their loss to the fact that they couldn't rely on their line-out, and I think that was a major problem for them. If they're able to correct that, and I think a few other things, then they might be able to carry on. But 2 losses back-to-back doesn't bode well for the Hurricanes, and it's generally not what we would expect from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're in all sorts of trouble there. And it looks like they will be playing catch-up for the rest of the tournament. And Barry, the performance of fly half Richie Mo'unga for the Crusaders. He's a guy, of course, we saw play at the World Cup last year in tandem with Borden Barrett. And it looks like now, with Borden Barrett playing at 15, Richie Mo'unga, from this performance that I saw in this particular match versus the Hurricanes, that was the best fly half performance, all-round fly half performance. You know, just one thing to be a kicking fly half like Oteri Black, but in terms of just the all-round performance, you know, the ability to be the playmaker, the distribution, the kicking game, and so forth. I think this was the best performance. And you also throw in the likes of Aaron Cruden at the Chiefs as well. It looks like there's going to be a healthy battle at number 10.
Always, and I think that Richie Mo'unga probably leading that race because, as you say, it was a consummate performance. And off air last week when we were discussing Super Rugby at Aotearoa, our producer Sean quipped and said that the Super Rugby at Aotearoa is actually All Blacks trials. And you got to think to yourself, if we take it in that context, then Richie Mo'unga doing himself a power of good. But as you say, there's lots of quality in New Zealand, especially at that fly half position. But you've got to have the head for it as well. And I think he demonstrated in that performance that he's got the decision-making ability, the ability to lead, in inverted commas, the team, and a team full of star quality and star power, lots of talent. So for me, I think Richie Mo'unga certainly a good performer in that game. And
when you say, Barry, that he's got the head for it, and I'm just thinking to All Black selection, because we all definitely acknowledge what Sean said, that these are the All Black trials. Is that what will give him the nod? Because New Zealand plays its rugby in a certain way. You know, they're not South Africa, they're not England. They don't look for efficiency. They look for more than efficiency. You've got to have certain ball skills. You've got to have certain ability. Is that what will stand him in good stead? For example, Oteri Black, who I think is decent as a fly half, but I can't see Oteri Black being selected into the All Black squad because I think he is more an English type, South African type fly half.
Yeah, certainly. I think he would do much better in Europe. I can't argue with you there. And for Richie Mo'unga, you've got to look at when I say he's got the head for it, he plays it in the New Zealand way. And in truth, the Crusaders, if we look at all of the franchises in New Zealand, the Crusaders probably play more so an All Black type of rugby. So being able to be the starting fly half, the man who is the pivot in that Crusaders lineup means that he's in pole position to rock and roll for the All Blacks as well. And I'm sure he'll work well with Aaron Smith, who will probably play at halfback for the All Blacks. There was another match on Saturday. Now 2 crucial shots at goal for Borden Barrett. Late in the match, saw the Blues pull off a rare 24-12 victory over the Chiefs in Hamilton on Saturday. 2 tries to nil outcome was the first time the Blues have won at the Chiefs since 2011 and was watched by a near capacity crowd of more than 23,000 as Kiwis flock back to rugby stadiums after a virus-enforced hiatus. And indeed, just looking at what New Zealand is doing and filling those stadiums, just a picture of what sport potentially could be once we are done with this coronavirus pandemic. Looking at the log standings in Super Rugby at Aroa, the Blues top the standings with 8 points from their 2 games. The Crusaders already in second. They've only played 1 game, but have got that bonus point victory, so they've got 5 points. In third are the Highlanders sitting on 4 points. They've also played 1 game. Chiefs have played 2 games, have amassed 1 point, and the Hurricanes yet to trouble the scorers, as they say in cricket parlance. They've got 0 points from their 2 games. As Chris said earlier, they're in all sorts of trouble. This weekend, you can look forward to the Blues hosting the Highlanders at East, taking on the Chiefs.
Hi, I'm JC Krill, Springbok and Blue Bulls backline player. You are listening to ZiFM Sports.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in California, where Webb Simpson produced a sparkling finish to claim a narrow victory after a weather-delayed final round at the RBC Heritage. The world number 9 birdied 5 of his 7 last holes at Harbour Town Golf Links to close a 7-under 64 and finish a shot clear of Abraham Ancer, securing Simpson a second win in 4 starts and moving him top of the FedEx Cup standings. We head over to Florida, where the NBA is concerned about the growing number of coronavirus cases in Florida, but intends to go ahead with its plan to restart the season in a bubble in the state. Florida has experienced record number of daily diagnoses of coronavirus over the past 3 days, with Saturday's number of new cases 4,049, a single-day record. The NBA plans to host players at the Walt Disney Resort near Orlando, Florida, where 22 teams with playoff chances will finish the regular season. The postseason will follow at the same site. Yesterday, Commissioner Adam Silver held a conference call with NBA team executives and addressed the Florida outbreak. The report said Silver was resolute but somber and was confident keeping players together in the bubble would help prevent coronavirus outbreaks. We touched down in Monaco, where the Adria Tour final has been cancelled after Grigor Dimitrov confirmed he had tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. The 29-year-old Bulgarian had been competing in the exhibition tournament in Croatia this week until he withdrew with illness. He returned home to Monaco after feeling unwell during his defeat to Borna Coric on Saturday and has since returned a positive test. The final of the event, which would have featured world number 1 Novak Djokovic, was cancelled shortly after as a result.
Hi, I'm Warriors coach Zdravko Logarušić and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Sports with a difference. Z. The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. The league that makes football oh so beautiful. Where artistry and strokes of genius are the order of any day. Where the game is played with a smile and the little master creates his magic.
It's Lionel Messi!
All the news from the Spanish La Liga on ZiFM Sport.
The goal the world wants it!
Right, let's go to Spain, where Zinedine Zidane has hit out at constant talk about refereeing decision after Real Madrid moved top of La Liga with a 2-1 win over Real Sociedad last night. Sergio Ramos's penalty for a foul on Vinicius Jr. put Madrid ahead before Adnan Januzaj had an effort ruled out for offside. Moments later, Karim Benzema doubled Madrid's lead after a VAR check for a possible handball, and Zidane's men held on despite Mikel Merino's late strike. Zidane is tired of all the talk about referee, saying his side deserved their win as they moved above Barcelona thanks to the superior head-to-head record. Now, Alois, I think we need to separate issues here. It's one thing thinking that you deserved to win because you dominated play, because you looked like you were the better side. But it's another thing also to acknowledge the fact that refereeing decisions were a big talking point or a big part of the outcome of this match.
Yes, exactly, Mike. I think Zinedine Zidane needs to be mature enough to actually look at football as it is, because even himself, if he was a fan or if he was on the opposite bench, if there are refereeing decisions that are questionable, everybody deserves the right to speak about them. Anyone can speak about a refereeing decision, whether it was fair or not, whether it was dubious or not. People will talk about it. That's what football is all about. We talk about football, we analyze football, we discuss events, we discuss decisions. That's why you can't say he is tired of people talking about refereeing decisions. No, if Real Madrid are getting refereeing decisions that are dubious, people will talk about it. If they're talking about fair decisions, people will still talk about it. So let people talk about them. They were dubious, yes, so people should talk about them. So he should just sit back and enjoy the 3 points and know that people are allowed to talk about refereeing decisions.
Well, Barry, at the heart of this is Mikel Merino, the Sociedad player. He's come out and he's questioned whether Real Madrid would have had a goal disallowed the same way that his team did during this clash. And at the heart of those sentiments, he's questioning the integrity of the match officials that were on show last night.
And with justification, because in truth, you look at the 3 decisions that turned this match in Real Madrid's favor. Firstly, the penalty that was awarded, never a penalty. There was no contact. Vinicius Junior felt that the contact was coming, and so when he was in the motion of hitting the ball, he then opted to go over, and the referee was conned. Because the on-field decision was to award the penalty, VAR couldn't turn that over. The second thing was that offside decision against Sociedad, where they said that the referees said that the man was in the line and was interfering with play when the shot was taken by Adnan Januzaj. For me, he wasn't in the line of play. He wasn't anywhere close to it. The ball went past him at least a meter apart from him and the ball. So consequently, that should have been that goal should have stood, but was chalked off. And then the third thing is Karim Benzema's handball. How do you miss that? It hits the top of his shoulder and the upper part of his arm. So what are we saying is a handball? So 3 decisions turned the game on its head. Zidane should just walk away, say in his post-match interview, we were lucky to get a result out of a very difficult venue, and carry on. He's on top of the league. He's likely to win the championship if he wins all his games to the end of the season. Just take that and walk away.
Well, this coming, Chris, after just last week we were praising the fact that, VAR had been less problematic on the continent as compared to England. And then we have this incident here with Karim Benzema's upper arm and shoulder, where everyone can see quite clearly that it's a handball. And VAR is not able to correct that bad call by the referee. And surely these are the decisions that VAR was brought in to correct.
Absolutely, Mike. That's exactly the problem, is that VAR was brought in to correct decisions and to make sure that results at the end of the game are as accurate as possible. I think VAR was a result of saying that, okay, you know what, there's some human error happening here with just the referees on the field. But if we now have a VAR official as well, and we have those errors, then we have a situation where those results can become contentious, just as they are now, and especially in La Liga, where every single point is counting at this point. Barcelona and Real Madrid sitting on top of each other, and we want to get to the end of the league and actually have a champion who we can say these guys are rightful champions, and not a situation where we can look at them and cast doubt on the fact that they received this championship off the back of some dodgy officiating.
Well, the one thing that I've always said is that I don't think VAR as a system is the problem, but it's the very fact that human beings are the ones that implement the system. Human beings are the ones that are called upon to make decisions using that system. And so that's why it's having problems, not just in England, but also in Spain, so it seems. And let's hope that the championship will not be decided on such decisions. Key results from over the weekend: title chasing Barcelona held to a goalless draw at Sevilla, and of course that was the opportunity Real Madrid needed to climb back on top of the standings. Atletico Madrid scrapping to a 1-0 home win versus Real Valladolid, and of course that was courtesy of a late header from substitute Vitolo, and it saw the Madrid side move into third in the standings. So your Champions League places are occupied by Real Madrid in first, Barcelona in second, Atletico in third, and Sevilla in fourth. Still in with a shout for Champions League football are Getafe and Real Sociedad in fifth and sixth respectively, and then fighting it out right at the bottom, trying to stave off relegation, are Mallorca, Leganes, and surprise, surprise, the other side from the city of Barcelona, Espanyol, are sitting right at the bottom of the standings, and they are 5 points away from safety.
All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back he Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
All right, now Jurgen Klopp was quick to praise Alisson after the Brazilian keeper denied Everton the chance of a historic Merseyside derby victory last night. The Brazilian made a stunning stop from Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the second half as Tom Davies' rebound was deflected onto the woodwork by Joe Gomez. Alisson's influence in Liverpool's incredible success under Klopp cannot be overstated, with the keeper arriving in 2018 when the Reds were in desperate need of improvement between the sticks. Let's hear from Klopp.
Yeah, you see it even better. I saw only the chance. I saw, of course, the save, but I forgot it. So that says probably most about him. So how we take that for granted, we should not. No, yeah, absolutely outstanding. Yeah, a difficult goalkeeper game. He had the ball much more on the feet than in his hands, but that is good with his feet as well. So that's good. Yeah, that's what a world-class goalie is. Nothing to do for him. 90 minutes pretty much, and then in 1 second you have to be there. He was there. That obviously saved us the point. It was not the first one.
The old adage says that attacks wins you games, but defense wins you championships. You can definitely say that Liverpool is winning this championship because they will win this championship on the back of a phenomenal defense that is marshaled by Alisson, but also ably assisted by another arrival or recent arrival in Virgil van Dijk.
Yes, Barry, I think Jurgen Klopp was listening to ZiFM Stereo some 2 years ago. I was always lambasting the Liverpool goalkeeper. Every time they lost, it was the goalkeeper. Too many errors with the goalkeepers, and not just one goalkeeper. Any goalkeeper they put in there was costing them games. Then they got Alisson, and everything started getting steady. They started choking clean sheets. The saves that he was making. And then when Virgil van Dijk came, the defense was solid. The communication that Van Dijk was bringing and the experience of Alisson, the saves that he makes, and then the Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then Robinson flying wingers as well. So it became balanced. And you know what? Any team that wants to win the championship, you want to build the team from the back. And Liverpool did exactly that. They plugged in the holes at the back, and suddenly they are solid. And the forward players, they get comfortable going forward because they know that they've got a steady ship. They've got a steady defense that are protecting them. They go forward with reckless abandon, and that's what gives you goals as well. They started getting goals at the same time they choking clean sheets. So I can say that Alisson, the moment he arrived, I think he has won Liverpool a lot of points. And this season alone, this being the championship winning season, I think at least 15 points he has brought to Liverpool. And that's what we want in a goalkeeper. You want a goalkeeper that comes in, wins you points, and wins you championships. And in Alisson, Liverpool have got one goalkeeper aside, and he is definitely he is actually the best goalkeeper in the world.
Best goalkeeper in the world, and that goalkeeper preventing Everton their first win in a Merseyside derby in 10 years. And you've got to say to yourself that in truth, Everton got their tactics, albeit that they were ugly, got their tactics absolutely correct, didn't they, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. Tactics spot on, and that's Carlo Ancelotti's hallmark. He rarely misses the mark tactically. He comes in and he improves the team from a tactical level, but what he's lacking now is genuine quality in certain positions. Everton, I don't think, can match the quality that is existing in the top six. Neither can they match Wolves, for example, which is a team that is pushing the top six at the moment, or trying to break through into that upper echelon of the English Premier League. But if he can add 3 or so really good signings, and I think this is where he can use his knowledge of the European game, his connections in Italy, to bring in, another really good centre-back, to bring in another really good striker, because Calvert-Lewin is great, but I think they can't rely on his goals alone. They need a number 10, a genuine number 10 to play alongside him, and then they need another creative force, because Sigurdsson, I think, is now past his best. He's not going to give you 38 top games over the course of a season, and that's why he had to come off the bench yesterday. And a younger player, I think Anthony Gordon was selected, teenager, in the place that he normally plays. So, but with Carlo Ancelotti, I think they've got a really good manager, and they've got a bright future ahead of them. Seamus Coleman, I thought, was a beast. Kept Sadio Mane quiet for large periods of the game. forced a positional switch for the best player on the African continent, and it was credit to the Irishman for putting in a shift yesterday evening.
Chris, you pointed out when we did the preview of the Premier League last Thursday, the fact that we didn't know what to expect. It was likely that the restart would be a bit stodgy with players coming off a 100-day layoff. Some teams would be at it, others wouldn't be. Last night, the Merseyside derby was evidence of the fact that there is a bit of lethargy there. Liverpool not at their best, were they?
Not at their best, but I think that's also because there was an expectation that was there from fans, Liverpool fans, just football fans, expected a kind of great to watch, swashbuckling football, but that's not necessarily what Liverpool even needs to be doing right now. If they're incredibly close to securing the championship, there's no need to play that kind of football. What they need at this point is to basically get those, I think it's 5 points that they need to get within the next 8 games and to be able to secure it. And that, I think, was the difference. Could you see the lethargy? Yes. I think you could see it across the teams, and especially so with Liverpool, but I think more so because of the expectation that was there, because now we're comparing Liverpool to Liverpool, not necessarily to anybody else within the league.
Against their very high standards, and a high standard has been set by Alisson, whose statistics are stunning. 13 clean sheets in 21 Premier League games. He leads the division in clean sheets, and you can see why he makes the difference he does to that Liverpool setup. Other games this past weekend, Paul Pogba stepped off the bench to help derail Jose Mourinho and Tottenham's hopes of catching Manchester United in the race for Champions League places, winning a penalty for Bruno Fernandes to cancel out Steven Bergwijn's opener in a 1-1 draw. In other news, Chelsea boosted their hopes of Champions League football next season by coming from a goal down on their return to action to beat Aston Villa 2-1 at Villa Park. And finally, Neil Maupay piled on the misery for Arsenal with a last gasp goal to give Brighton a 2-1 win over the Gunners, who had earlier seen goalkeeper Bernd Leno stretchered off. We'll talk about Arsenal just now, but the league standings look like this. Liverpool out in front, 83 points at the top of the standings. Manchester City, they're in action against Burnley tonight. They're sitting in second on 60 points. Leicester in third on 54 points. Chelsea is in fourth position, occupying the last Champions League position on 51 points. Manchester United on fifth, joint number of points as Wolves, 46. So they're all chasing that Champions League position. And Sheffield is in seventh on 44 points, an outside flutter for a Champions League spot as well for Sheffield United. The relegation positions are occupied by Bournemouth in 18th, Aston Villa in 19th, and Norwich City sitting at the bottom of the standings in 20th position on 21 points. Now on to Arsenal. Now Alan Shearer has hit out at Mesut Ozil after the Arsenal playmaker was left on the bench against Brighton, and says the German's mammoth salary was a huge mistake that could lead to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang leaving. Ozil did not even make the 9-man bench against Manchester City last week and was an unused sub against Brighton, with Shearer suggesting that he will be one of the players Mikel Arteta tries to shift, and criticizing the club for handing him a problematic contract 2 years ago. Definitely the big German elephant in the room is Mesut Ozil at Arsenal, isn't he, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely, Barry. And I think a lot of people blamed Unai Emery for not selecting him, blamed the Spaniards, say that the coach didn't know the game and so forth. But now we got Mikel Arteta, who's come in, and he's also not selecting Mesut Ozil. And both the Spaniards have cited the same thing. He's not willing to work hard for the cause. He's not willing to apply himself in the manner that is expected of a top player like him, who's won the World Cup with Germany, who's been one of the best players in Europe, not just in England, but also with Real Madrid. And before that, when he was playing in the Bundesliga. So very disappointing. He's on the highest wages, possibly even in the English Premier League as well, because he's on quite a pretty penny at Arsenal. Aubameyang, because he's been Arsenal's best player for the last 2 years, is going to be demanding the same thing. Can they have two players who are earning at that level at Arsenal? I think not. They have to shift Mesut Ozil if they entertain any hopes of keeping the Gabonian star Aubameyang.
Hopefully they can keep him, though, because if you take a look at the impact he's made for Arsenal since he joined, even if you just look at this season, he scored 17 out of the 41 goals that Arsenal has scored this season in total. That's not a player that you'd want to let go of, but unfortunately, because of a bad decision, they might have to do so. Antonio Conte has urged Christian Eriksen to be more decisive in attack after helping Inter Milan return to winning ways following Serie A's restart. Eriksen set up Romelu Lukaku in the 10th minute before Lautaro Martinez scored also as Inter overcame Sampdoria 2-1 at the San Siro last night. Morten Thorsby pulled a goal back for the visitors in the second half, but Conte's side held on to clinch victory, leaving them 6 points behind Serie A leaders Juventus with 12 matches remaining. Alois, he had a rocky start to Serie A, but he has an ability to influence positive results for them. And Antonio Conte is obviously seeing this and putting a bit more pressure on the player because he knows that he can deliver.
Yes, Chris, you know that we don't doubt the quality. We don't doubt the quality of Christian Eriksen at all. You know, it's only that when he arrived at Inter Milan, I think he was not well psychologically. We all know how he left Tottenham Hotspur acrimoniously because of things that happened there, the issues that happened there. But he is a world-class player, like we all know. He is a very creative player. He also scores goals. Remember, he's also a free kick specialist, and Inter Milan are going to be using him very well. So Antonio Conte knows. He knows the quality. That's why he is pushing. That's why he wants him in and around the box, because he knows that Christian Eriksen can create goals, can score goals as well. And he knows that for the push for the championship, they are still in it, 6 points behind Juve with a lot of games to go still. He knows that he is one of the players that are going to be very creative, playing a big part in their chase for the championship. So he wants to push him. He wants to keep him on his toes. I'm sure he has recovered. The coronavirus break, I think it has also helped him, you know, to get back to his senses psychologically, to boost himself. I think he is back, and Antonio Conte knows that, and he wants to keep him on his toes. He wants to push him so that he can constantly deliver week in, week out, or day in, day out as it is right now, so that they can actually keep the title chase very, very much alive. Like I said, they're still in it.
Those Serie A standings, Juventus right at the top with 63. In second place, Lazio with 62. Internazionale in third with 57. Atalanta 51. AS Roma have 45. They sit in fifth place. And in sixth, we have Napoli with 39 points.
All right, a quick wrap from Germany as we wrap up the show. Borussia Dortmund striker Erling Haaland has made his feelings about Bayern Munich's title win pretty clear, expressing it's an unpleasant feeling that the Bavarian Giants had become champions once again. And no doubt, Barry, Germany has been dominated by Bayern Munich. They've won it 8 times on the spin, and it's leaving a bitter taste, especially in Dortmund.
It certainly is, and you, after a win against a very good RB Leipzig team, winning 2-0, BVB would be cock-a-hoop. They'd be celebrating immensely, especially if they were still chasing the title. But now with it all done and dusted, it's a bit of a Pyrrhic victory, and I think Erling Haaland is just expressing the feeling and sentiment around Borussia Dortmund, whereby they look at themselves and they're thinking that we've got work to do in order to upstage this red machine out of Munich. And that work must start almost immediately. The question is, can they do the work? I think they can, but they've got to make some pretty tough decisions and walk the talk, and also keep their best talent. The fact that they're likely to lose Jadon Sancho also can't be pleasing them, because he's been one of the star turns in this past season and was promising to have a fantastic career.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
You don't think he's going anywhere? Listen,
I want him to go somewhere.
I hope that they can hold it, because Man United are the leading contender. But I hope that he stays, but I'm pretty sure that he's likely to be on his way. If he's on his way, then that even makes it difficult. The job at BVB.
There's a club that can spend 150 million on a player right now.
No, but there are.
That's why I believe that he'll spend at least one more season in Germany.
If he does that, then BVB is well on their way to being competitive and competing with Bayern Munich for that job.
I think his new contract, they nudged him up to 180,000. So in terms of his earnings right now, he's earning just like a top English Premier League player in terms of what he's taking home in terms of his pay packet. So the money right now is not the attraction for him. I think it's going to be a really good footballing project that comes through and attracts him.
But honestly speaking, guys, Bayern Munich lost it for themselves this season. Bayern Munich was there for the taking this season, let's be honest. Especially they were stuttering at the beginning of the season, and BVB actually stayed easily. One time they actually had a 6-point lead, you know, at the top. They lost it themselves. This was a year that they could have competed and taken it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the leading light in the league right now, Robert Lewandowski. Quick update on him. He scored, of course, twice as Bayern Munich eased past Freiburg 3-1 on Saturday. And the Polish striker becomes the first foreign player to score 33 goals in Bundesliga. What a season he's having. And hopefully he can inspire his team to greater things to come.
We're out of time. We'll catch you tomorrow for our Tuesday show. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Menande, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.